On to the Cape Unit 2 2016 Paper 2 Nervous Coordination question. It says, myasthenia gravis is an autoimmune disease in which the body's antibodies block and destroy neurotransmitters at neuromuscular junctions. The first question, explain the term neuromuscular junction. And the second part, explain why myasthenia gravis results in progressive weakening of the skeletal muscles. Before attacking these questions, let's revisit synaptic transmission one more time. In synaptic transmission, we have the action potential arriving at the axon hillock. And when it has arrived, then the voltage gated calcium channels are going to open on the presynaptic neuron membrane, and they're going to release calcium ions in the presynaptic neuron. When calcium enters the presynaptic neuron, it's going to signal the synaptic vesicles to release the neurotransmitters via exocytosis so that they can get into the synaptic cleft here. When they get into the synaptic cleft, they will bind to receptors on the postsynaptic neuron, right? So with our knowledge of synaptic transmission, we can therefore attack these two. And the first one, recall, what is neuromuscular junction? So therefore, we could say that a neuromuscular junction is a synapse at which a nerve impulse traveling down a motor nerve triggers the release of neurotransmitters into synaptic clefts to bind to postsynaptic neurons, and thus making muscles contract. And then explain why myasthenia gravis results in progressive weakening of the skeletal muscle. Now recall, they say that in myasthenia gravis, the body's antibodies block and destroy neurotransmitters at neuromuscular junction. Now in normal functioning of the synaptic transmission, it should not be so, right? We should have neurotransmitters safely arriving into the synaptic cleft and binding to the receptors on the postsynaptic neurons. Now, if these antibodies block and destroy the neurotransmitters at the neuromuscular junction, there's not going to be any communication, right? Neurotransmitters won't be able to bind to the receptors on the postsynaptic neurons. And because these muscles will no longer be able to become stimulated by these receptors, then there's going to be progressive weakening of the skeletal muscles.